Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. Tisha here, back with another segment of It's Getting Real. I will warn you all right now, this case does not have an ending. It is ongoing to the point where when I looked it up on YouTube, I see that as of 5 days ago, it's set once again to go to trial. So I'm letting you all know, we're not going to get justice at the end because this is ongoing, and I'm probably going to have to come back for another part of this. But I already had so many notes that I was like, you know what? In real life, sometimes this happens. There are cases out there that don't have conclusions to them. And I've heard about this young lady, but I didn't really look that much into the case. And I just have this feeling that if the guy that stands accused of unaliving this girl, if he manages to weasel out of this based on his history, I can guarantee that he will more than likely be some other family's nightmare. I hope that there are additional findings at this point that just aren't out there so that nothing is given away, so that they can really lock up the people that deserve to be locked up. Go ahead, do me a favor and hit the like button as we begin. I'm going to warn you that my notes may be all over the place because I got so irritated with what I was reading that I didn't even go back over and skim. And normally I at least do a skim, so bear with me. Born on December 23rd, 1997 to Tammy and Bobby, this beautiful girl by the name of Alexis joined a big loving family. She was one of 10 with 4 sisters and 5 brothers, described as smart, brilliant, beautiful, affectionate, and fun. She loved to dance and she was passionate about life. She was described as a loving young lady that's desire was to help people. Alexis graduated from Clark Central High School in 2016. Then she went on to Clark Atlanta University. She was a senior majoring in sociology and criminal justice, looking forward to a bright future. She wanted to eventually become a criminal lawyer. That was before her life was tragically cut short. You see, you really have to be careful about who you surround yourself with, because not everyone who calls themselves your friend is really your friend, and not everyone who acts like they have your best interest at heart does. Sometimes you stay in the same vicinity as people who are plotting on your downfall. And I feel like that's what happened in this situation. So it's her senior year, as I said, and Alexis is living in an off-campus apartment with a young lady by the name of Jordan Jones. I use the term young lady loosely because there's nothing about her that describes or makes me think of a lady when I think about the traits of her personality and what she did involving this case. She may look beautiful on the outside, but to be involved with this case the way that she was, she's dark. Jordan was also 21, and she and Alexis got close. So close that at times Jordan was around Alexis' family, spent holidays like Easter and Thanksgiving with them, and everything seemed to be going well. So let's fast forward through all the fluff. It's October 30th, a little after 3. Alexis was on the phone with her mother and one of her sisters. They talk a little bit. They joke around, and at some point, she asks for some money via Cash App. They have a conversation. Parents decide, yeah, let's send it. They send it, and the family doesn't hear anything else from her. Now, they were worried, but at the same point, they're like, okay, maybe she's just getting involved in the homecoming festivities because homecoming weekend is approaching. And her sister knows that Alexis probably has some plans. So she texts her to find out what she plans on doing. Because if you've ever been to any type of homecoming, especially at a HBCU, a historically Black college, you know that there is going to be a lot of celebrations and a lot of parties. It's what people do. So she says, what are you planning on doing? And the response is one word, nothing, which seems a little odd, but they're like, okay, well, you know, maybe she's just tired. After all, she is a full-time student. She does work. Maybe she just needs some rest. At 9:03, she shares a post on Instagram. 20 minutes after that, she responds to a message on Instagram. And then after that, it's crickets. She's never heard from again. As I said earlier, Alexis comes from a large family, so they have been accustomed to hearing something from her throughout the day, to the point where normally someone in the family has heard from her at least once every few hours. So it's now morning and she has not called or texted anyone. People are calling and it's going straight to voicemail. No one is in contact with her. Family still concerned. Family says, we'll wait and see. Then on November 1st, she's expected in class. Alexis is a very responsible student. She does not miss class. Yet here it is, November 1st, and she's not in class. She then misses her shift at work. She is not the type of girl to miss her shift, especially without calling them to let them know she's going to be late or she's not going to make it. So because her family knows that this is not like her, they have a feeling that something is wrong. And what they do is they notify school officials, try to figure out what's going on with that, and then report her missing. A missing persons report is filed. It is reported by one of her brothers that she was last seen on Wednesday, October 30th. The media is notified. Several stories are ran saying that if anyone has seen or knows anything, to please contact police. It doesn't take long for it to be reported that there are cameras that saw her leaving the Heritage Station Apartments. Her roommate, Jordan, is later questioned. She claims that she drove her to a liquor store at around 11 something, which she was later seen on camera at that liquor store. Then she saw her about an hour after that. They made burgers and then she went to bed. That next morning on October 30th, she woke up. Alexis wasn't there, but an empty bottle of liquor was. She also looked around the apartment. She saw that her phone, her cards, and her ID were gone. Interesting things to note that were gone. I would think, okay, well, did she go to class? Did she go to work? Something like that. But that's not what she said. Atlanta police then released new images of Alexis from the camera surveillance in the liquor store, thinking that that may have been the last article of clothing that she was seen wearing. You know, you do this to try to help people figure out, see what you most recently look like. It's circling. People at this point are worried about this girl, so they start searching for her. A week has gone by and no one has heard anything. There's no activity on her cell phone. There's nothing on social media. None of her cards have been used, and more media releases are happening. A press conference is held, and her father, who does not live in the area, drives from Athens to speak at the conference. He lets it be known that he loves his daughter and that he will not be leaving the city until she's found. As I heard him talking, he's crying and he's breaking up. And I just can't help but feel like you send your kids to school in hopes that they become something better. You don't send your children to school so that they're confronted by evil and then they disappear. During the conference, you hear other family members saying that I hope God is walking with you, and I hope that no evil comes your way, and I hope that you make it home soon. We just want you to come home, but it's too late, because despite their hopes and their prayers, the worst has already happened. At some point, it is revealed by Reverend Mark Hutchin, the pastor, that the family utilized, that Alexis was going through something, that she experienced something that no woman should have experienced. At the time, people did not know what he was talking about, but it would later be revealed what she experienced prior to her death. So 3 days before Alexis went missing on October 27th, 2019, she not only went to the hospital, but she filed a police report, stating in that report that she had been SA'd. She stated that the assault occurred by Baron Bradley, who was her roommate Jordan's boyfriend. She stated that on October 27th, 2019, that the three of them were having some drinks at their apartment and that Barron attempted to touch her and try to kiss her. She said no, refused him, didn't want to have anything to do with it. He then made up some type of excuse, saying that he thought she was Jordan and that's why he did that. There's not that much alcohol in the world that would have me not realizing who you are. That's an excuse. At this point, Alexis is uncomfortable and she's scared. She knows that she needs to get away from him. So she goes towards her bedroom. He follows her. She then goes to the bathroom, closes the door, and she remembers being alone. And at that point, she passes out and she can't remember anything. But when she comes to, she finds that her underwear have been ripped off and that Jordan's boyfriend, Barron, was not fully dressed. Jordan is standing outside of the door, banging on the bathroom door. He opens it, and the first words out of his mouth are, "I did not R Alexis." Who says something like that? And how alarming must it have been for her to have heard those words and to have woken up in that situation. Now, this stuff is alleged, okay? Because this is what has been stated by Alexis, who is no longer here, and Jordan, who is awaiting trial, okay? So I gotta say it's alleged, but this is what, the findings have said. So 911 is called. Now, I'm originally thinking that the police were called because Jordan saw her friend Alexis and that she was unaware of what was going on, and Alexis looked bothered and things of that nature. And the fact that her boyfriend came out of this bathroom and looked like he did something, and rather than just being like, oh, we fell asleep or something like that, you say, I didn't R her. Either way, even if they fell asleep, it doesn't make sense that you fall asleep in the bathroom behind this girl. None of it makes sense. So Jordan calls police, and she calls them not to say that something bad happened to her friend, but instead she calls to let them know that her ex-boyfriend, because that's how she referred to him at the time, took her car without her permission. Remember that she called him her ex, because that's going to come into play later. So she says that she's the person on the phone is like, do you need the police, the ambulance, or whatever? And she's like, I need everybody to come because he took my car and he stole my keys. So they come out there. They question the girl. Later that night, a Detective Young said that Alexis and Jordan called a friend who came to talk to the two and then called 911 to report the SA. When the police returned to the home for the 911 call, Alexis said she had been R'd by Brantley. That's the last name of the boyfriend. Detective Young said Alexis was taken to the hospital for an R kit to be administered. Thursday, during a bond hearing for Jones, prosecutors stated that the R kit had found Brantley's sperm in Crawford. So she goes to the Grady Hospital, they do the R kit, and they found traces of semen in her. At the time, they couldn't tell whose it was. They later tested it and found out whose it was, meaning she was assaulted, because if she said no earlier on and she refused his advances and they found that in her, that means that something happened to her without her consent. She does not remember it. She was under the influence. It was out without her consent. Let me be clear. Despite me telling you all that they did an R kit, they found the stuff inside of her, they have matched it to him, no charges regarding him SAing her have been brought against him. He is currently in custody. He is currently locked away pending trial. He's innocent still, supposedly, until proven guilty. And they haven't even sought to do anything about that. So her so-called friend knows that something isn't right. After all, as I said, the guy opens the door, says he didn't essay her, then leaves with her car. She knows something happened to her roommate, someone who's supposed to be her friend. And what she decides to do while the young lady is gone is she decides to sneak her man back into the apartment, knowing that he did something to her. She heard her when she told her friend that he did something to her. So, knowing that this situation happened, and because Alexis is bothered by what happened, as anyone would be, she's so uncomfortable now that she does not even feel comfortable sleeping in her room. So she's sleeping in the living room because she's scared. But it doesn't matter where she sleeps at in that house, because that home is no longer safe, because she was violated in it, number one, and because danger was right in the next room hiding, number two. I wish she had somewhere else to stay, because if she did, I feel like she would still be here. That baby didn't realize how much danger she was in. She did not know that he was in that apartment. She was waiting for police to finish their investigation when she went missing, to the point that when this other investigator came, it was several days after she was missing to question her some more. So officers go to the apartment to question Jordan. She lets them know that she was aware of what Alexis claimed, and as a result of her claims, because she doesn't believe her, she's no longer talking to her anymore. But if you're not talking to her anymore, then why did you also tell detectives that you gave her a ride the last time you saw her to the liquor store? It's not adding up. Because the accusations were made before that ride was given. So at this point, they know she's lying. I guess she went to her father about the situation. After all, he's supposedly a part of law enforcement as well. And what ends up happening is she ends up confessing to some things. Alexis' body is then later found in DeKalb County, about 11 miles from her apartment along Columbia Drive on November 8th, 2019, 1 week after her family reported her missing. Days later, police charged her friend Jordan and her roommate, her boyfriend, with the woman's murder. In court documents, authorities allege that sometime before 3 a.m. on October 31st, Alexis and Jordan got into a physical fight at their off-campus apartment. That at some point, Barron got involved in the fight, choking Alexis. Jordan then allegedly grabbed a plastic bag, put it on her head, and at the same time as she was being choked, smothered her until she stopped breathing. They both admitted to doing this, but at some point, his testimony gets thrown out. We'll get to it. Barron tells investigators that she was struggling to breathe and had the sound of agony. And he said it in such a heartless, matter-of-fact manner. But because he was supposedly under the influence, it gets thrown out. A video from the parking garage at the apartment later showed Jordan and Barron pulling Jordan's car up to the door at around 3. After she died, they allegedly put her in a Rubbermaid bin, took her to a wooded area in the park where she was found. Jordan then allegedly returns home to clean the blood that is in the living room. After the death of Alexis, she continues to text Alexis' mother, knowing that she had turned off Alexis's phone, asking Alexis' mom where Alexis was, if she had heard from her, trying to make sure that she saw that she was concerned. This is how calculating this girl is. She even posts messages on Instagram acting like she cared she was missing. But what happened was, this is what she said that after they committed the crime, she came home and they went to sleep. And then her and her boyfriend later went to a Halloween party. Now, at some point, police later sprayed luminol in the living room, finding blood in multiple places in that living room. It has not yet been matched. Maybe it has, but in the reports, I didn't see that they confirmed whose blood it was. Her funeral was held on November 16th, 2019. Jordan Jones and Baron Bradley pled not guilty to their 6 charges, some of which included felony murder, false imprisonment, and concealing the death of another. Baron was also charged with probation violations, hindering a person making an emergency telephone call. This was not the first time that he had been arrested. He had multiple prior arrests, including theft by taking, battery, fleeing or attempting to elude a police officer, family violence, cruelty to children in 3rd degree, having been booked multiple times in that 2-year time frame. Jordan attorneys at this point are trying to get her out, saying that she does not have any priors and all these other things, but the prosecution was on it, stating that they found direct messages from Jordan on social media, encouraging her boyfriend to not only destroy evidence in the apartment, but to also look out and try to avoid certain cameras and things of that nature. I'm letting you guys know that this case happened in 2019 and has been a complete poo-poo show. Because a confession, as I said earlier, given by Baron to investigators shortly after his arrest cannot be used by prosecutors because he was under the influence at the time of his confession. On January the 27th, I believe it was 2023, Judge Belinda Edwards delivered her decision. The prosecution may not use the confession. Judge Edwards rules essentially that the confession had not been freely given and that his Miranda rights were insufficiently given. The judge outlined how on the day that Brantley gave his confession, there was reason to suspect he was under the influence of drugs and could not provide a knowing, quote, an intelligent waiver of his Miranda rights. Defendant was never asked whether he was under the influence or whether he had or when he had last used drugs, although he informed the officers that he was a drug user, the judge wrote in the order. So basically, if you use drugs, that means you're not held liable for when your rights are read to you. So can we all say that we were under the influence of something if we commit a crime? That just, something about this just doesn't sound right. And I might be wrong. For those of you who know more, put it down in the comment section. But I don't understand how him possibly being under the influence throws his confession out, especially because it's being corroborated with someone else who was sitting there with her father when she gave some of her statements. The order also stated that Brantley's odd behavior as he spoke to detectives included asking officers for a hug, intense chain smoking, and needing to lean on a car to avoid falling down. Okay, that does corroborate what they're saying about him being under the influence. I just hate the fact that he's getting away with this like this. The judge noted detectives used language with him to imply that an admission coupled with a show of remorse would result in a lesser punishment. Tammy Crawford, who is the mother of Alexis, wrote a statement. On behalf of my entire family and with all my heart, I plead with the Fulton County Superior Court to deny the bond request of Baron Brantley. The statement continues, the monsters that murdered Alexis should never get out of jail under any circumstances. I cannot imagine a judge finding it just or safe to grant Baron the freedom to walk around and be with his family while Alexis lives in a lonely grave. Brantley and Jones have pled not guilty to several charges in connection to Alexis Crawford's death, including murder, false imprisonment, and concealing a death. And that is the end of it. As I said, I'll include the link that shows, that this is now, as of 5 days ago, supposed to be going into court. I think that the pandemic probably slowed things down significantly. Also, in some of the findings that I read, it said that one of the reasons why this is taking so long to go to trial is because the attorney for the defendant. She has another case that she's been spending more time on, and as a result, this one has been put on the back burner because I guess he's not getting effective counsel, so they want to make sure that his counsel is good. What annoys me most about this is the prosecutor is probably going to end up allowing that girl to get some type of deal because the ball was dropped in gaining the information. And she probably is going to get time served and let go of. I hope that's not the case. I hope that they make an example of her. I hope that people in the area and the family's voices are heard and that they use a platform in order to get her story out there more, because something needs to happen. The fact that this man has allegedly SA'd her and nothing even came of that they haven't done anything else with that when they have the DNA that corroborates her story, it's troublesome to me. And it doesn't make me feel like this case is going to have the best outcome. But as I said, this will be the first part. I'll come to you with the second part. Let me not say if, when it comes, I'm hoping it's sooner than later. I hope that this girl gets some form of justice. It's so sad that a young lady that wanted to change lives and save lives is no longer here, and that she was in the last stages of what could have been the beginning of something wonderful. And because she decided to allegedly speak, because at this point he hasn't came out and said anything else, he's still trying to act like he's innocent, but it looks rather odd that a couple days prior to her disappearing and her being unalived, that she reported that she was assaulted. And the very people that were in the home when she was assaulted now have removed her from this earth. Let me know what you thought of this crime. Rest in peace, Alexis. Until next time.